Buenos días a todos. Eso es lo último que van a escuchar en español, ¿eh? Good morning. See, we could conduct it entirely in English. Okay. Ni hao. We are honored to have such distinguished guests and delegation today, as with this event, we are kicking off modestly and humbly the celebration of our 57th anniversary. In keeping with what has been a tradition at CETYS, we periodically try to see what the trends are, what the institution is doing, what other leading institutions are doing, and what it is that the institution can incorporate into what it does so that it can serve its students and its respective communities better. Different than when the institution was founded in 1961, which was intended to serve the local population, the challenge has been one that in order to serve the local population, the local communities better, our graduates, our students need to be better prepared. And that means developing a global perspective. And in line with that, the institution has sought out throughout the different presidencies. Thank you very much, President Enrique Blancas. He was our 5th president. Thank you for being here. A lot of what I get to do is thanks to all the groundwork that he laid out, so thank you very much. So in that spirit, the institution has attempted to establish key partnerships throughout the world, and in the context of the annual celebrations, try to incorporate themes that not only benefit the institution and its community, hopefully its partners, but also that it establishes a more global outreach in the process, and that its contribution is also to the higher education community here in Mexico and hopefully around the world. So very appropriately, I think what we've done is selected the theme again of innovation. And so with today's panel, the first of 2 panels, we will focus on more general aspects of innovation, but of course related to social and economic development. So we put together a very experienced panel, diverse perspective that includes not only the perspective of Mexico and the US, but also of China, which represents Asia, and of Colombia, which would represent Latin America or the rest of South America. So before we pass on the baton to Jorge Sosa, who will be facilitating this, I'd like to acknowledge the presence of 2 of our important members of our Board of Trustees with whom CETYS would not be a reality. On the one hand, the board chair, Juan Ignacio Guajardo Araiza. And also our honors trustee, Rodolfo Nelson Culebro. I, of course, want to thank the delegation of the Nevada State Higher Education. Thank you for being here. Chancellor Reilly is here, but in addition to Chancellor Reilly, he's accompanied by the presidents of University of Nevada, Las Vegas, University of Reno, and Desert Research Institute, so thank you for being here. And at the same time, our colleagues from China, from Hunan Normal University. So we thank you for being here, and I'm sure that this celebration will definitely contribute to the further development not only of CETYS, but to higher education. So without further ado, I'd like to call to the front the culprits of this, that have made this effort possible. On the one hand, Peter Guzman, and on the other hand, Javier Rivas. Would you join us, please, Javier? Yes. Thank you, Javier. As you know, he is a very active and engaged and passionate promoter and developer in Baja California. Oscar El Roperito, right? He sent me a cartoon. I think it was in La Voz or La Voz, yeah. It came out yesterday, the day before, where it says that Javier has been promoting the region for 45 years. So congratulations, Javier.
Thank you. Thank you. This morning I got to use the same expression. Wow. It's a wow experience to have Nevada here. It's a dream come true as a resident of Nevada, a resident of here, a registered voter there, registered voter here, bilingual, bicultural. There's the way the bridge is ready, and the bridge is ready to do business. We celebrate CETYS, we celebrate by working. And I think that working is a word that I'll describe to present the guy that made possible this meeting. And Thom, thank you for coming. UNLV, UNR, I mean, UDR, I mean, it's really nice, really an experience. And this morning was saying we need to complement, not compete. In industry, you have to complement the United States and complement Mexico. And so I'm very excited what's happening here. And who made it happen for 2 years. We've been working on this with the Chamber of Commerce, Latin Chamber of Commerce of Las Vegas, Nevada. And I tell you, it hasn't been easy. I mean, these are institutions, world size, 110,000 students. I mean, they're a different league. But you know what? CETYS competes with them and can complement it with them. So I want to acknowledge Peter Guzman, Cuban-American, President and Chairman of the Latin Chamber of Commerce. Y muchas gracias, hermano. Muchas gracias.
Gracias. Me llamo Peter Guzman. Soy el presidente de la Cámara de Comercio Latina en Nevada. I'm Peter Guzman, president of the Latin Chamber of Commerce in Nevada. It is an absolute honor to be standing here with you. This is a great moment, and I can tell you there is no better promoter of Mexicali than my friend Javier Rivas. He's been talking to me about this for a long time. I became president 3 years ago, and I told him that I would make a commitment that we would come down here and we will conduct business, and you will conduct business in Nevada. And now we're, including education into this. This is a win-win for everybody, a win-win for everybody. So for me, it's an honor. It's an honor to be working with Chancellor Thom Reilly, who's got the vision, who over a phone call, a late-night phone call, he asked, and we delivered, and here we are. And that's the kind of vision. It takes vision. It takes people who believe. So no matter what you hear, believe me when I tell you this. This is actually who we are. This is who we are in America. We want to do business with you. You want to do business with us. And we are going to absolutely make that happen. So much so that I brought my attorney and my business partner, J.T. Moran, down here, who's going to investigate on how we can do business down here and how we can make sure that you're doing business in Nevada. That's how serious we are about this. So, los felicito. Gracias por tenernos aquí. We are honored to be here. Thank you.
Thank you, Peter. And just before passing the baton over to Jorge Sosa, who will be moderating the session, I'd like to acknowledge the president of Reilly, who represents the Chinese business group in Mexico, and also a very good friend of ours from China, Jiang. Ni hao, Shuai.
Thank you, Dr. Leon. Good morning, buenos dias, ni hao, and guten tag. I just mentioned the guten tag because I've been taking German classes and I wanted to use it. My name is Jorge Sosa Lopez. I am the Dean of the College of Engineering at CETYS University. Welcome to CETYS. Welcome to our Center for Innovation and Design. Welcome to Baja California and welcome to Mexicali, where we have a harsh desert climate and have more frequent earthquakes than we would like, but where we also have people with a commitment to accept challenges, develop entrepreneurial projects, and provide high-quality human capital for emerging companies and organizations that strive to be competitive in today's economy and fluctuating markets. We are celebrating our 57th anniversary this week at CETYS and are very happy to be joined by visitors and friends from abroad, from countries that may seem so different, but are very much alike in many aspects. We are all immersed in a climate where there is much uncertainty and many challenges, but also many opportunities. As institutions of higher education, we seek to prepare professionals that contribute in a positive manner as agents of change in the organizations and institutions in which they work. And by doing so, ideally contribute in a significant manner to the economic and social development of their region, their country, and the world. These themes, these challenges are global. The professional that organizations need today is a global professional. A professional that is highly qualified in his or her area of specialization, with potential for development and continuous improvement, one who is creative and innovative with a focus on identifying and solving complex problems, with a capacity to work in inter and multidisciplinary teams in multicultural environments, skilled in the use of technology, and able to work in virtual teams that transcend the local office, a professional with a global vision. The types of problems that this global professional faces are diverse. They may have to do with the improvement of a production system to increase efficiency and productivity, the development of a new product or service, the social or economic development of a community or region, the problem of making an organization or company not only competitive, but also environmentally responsible and have sustainability throughout time. The global professional not only accepts these challenges, but relishes in the opportunity to make a difference with a global mindset and a vision of integration and construction. This is the global professional. The overarching theme of this year's panels is innovation in higher education. And the focus of today's panel is innovation in economic development. How can we, as institutions of higher education, prepare this global professional that will have a positive impact on his or her environment and therefore be a driver for economic development? The role of higher education in the development of the global professional and therefore the economic development of a region or country is of the utmost importance. Human capital must be considered as a fundamental element, and therefore it is vital for organizations to identify personnel with ideal profiles with the purpose of creating groups and work teams that integrate people with more responsibilities for innovation. In the end, the capacity to innovate is a determinant key to create competitiveness in the long term for companies, regions, and nations. I would like to introduce our distinguished panelists. First, Dr. Thom Reilly, Chancellor of the Nevada System of Higher Education. Welcome. Thom Reilly is the Chancellor of the Nevada System of Higher Education. He is a former director of the Morrison Institute for Public Policy at Arizona State University and a professor in ASU's Public School of Affairs. He is a former county manager for Clark County, Nevada, and has held senior administrative positions in Nevada state government, overseeing income maintenance programs and the statewide child welfare system. He was a managing principal and founder of the Reilly Group, a Las Vegas-based management consulting firm, and is former vice president of social responsibility at Caesars Entertainment, Inc. He is a fellow of the National Academy of Public Administration and has received his master's and doctorate in public administration from the University of Southern California. I would like to introduce and also welcome Dr. Xinmiao, Vice President of Hunan Normal University in China. He has a doctoral degree in private international law from Wuhan University and has postdoctoral research in the Institute of Law of the China Academy of Social Sciences. He is the author of over 100 theses in Chinese Journal of Law, Chinese Legal Science, Juris Review, and Law Review, to name a few. He is vice chairman of the China Society of Private International Law, member of the China Law Society, the China Society of International Economic Law, and Hunan Discipline Evaluation Group of the Hunan Province. Welcome. Dr. Dan Shunk, PIMSA Distinguished Lecturer and Professor Emeritus of Arizona State University. Dr. Shunk is a professional in industrial engineering in the IRA Fulton Schools of Engineering at ASU. He is also the faculty advisor for the Fulton Systems Engineering Program and a PIMSA Chair for Innovation and Design at CETYS University. Dr. Shunk received his Bachelor of Science and Master of Science and PhD degrees from Purdue University in 1971, 72, and 76, respectively. Dr. Shunk came from industry to ASU in 1984 as an associate professor in engineering. From 1984 to 1994, he served as the CIM Systems Research Center director. In 2003, he was asked to co-create and lead the Tech MBA in the Carey School of Business at ASU. He proudly lists 11 teaching awards highlighted by the Society of Manufacturing Engineers' highest honor, the International Education Award. I'd like to welcome and introduce Diego Mazo, Rector of the CEIPA Business School in Colombia. He has a master's degree in university management from Universidad de los Andes, and his thesis work is focused on strategies for virtual education in higher ed. He was vice president of CEIPA from 1994 to 2012, where he led the transformation of this institution from a technological school to a university. He was responsible for the construction of a new campus as well as the development of an institutional pedagogical model based on thematic circles and the creation of graduate. He was also responsible for the creation of the graduate business school and the expansion of the university with sites in 3 cities in Colombia. He has done research and published articles on project management, virtual corporation, new technologies for virtual education, virtual student management systems, and leading virtual education in Colombia. The dynamic for the panel is as follows. Each speaker will do a 10 to 12-minute presentation, and afterwards we will do a Q&A session. We will begin with Dr. Thom Reilly.
Good morning. Buenos dias. On behalf of the 110,000 students we educate in the state of Nevada, we want to extend our appreciation for this opportunity to explore possibilities around research, transborder research, as well as student exchanges. We appreciate the president and his wonderful hospitality, and we're excited about the next 2 days, and we want to congratulate CETYS for their 57th anniversary. It's an exciting time to be here. If I can, maybe just put a little bit in context of how we operate public higher education in the state of Nevada. We're one system. So we have 8 institutions in the state of Nevada, everywhere from 4 community colleges with multiple campuses that does technical training and 2-year degree and certificates, to a state college, to 2 universities that are doctoral granting research institutions, and a environmental research arm, Desert Research Institute. We educate 110,000 students. We have 8 presidents. We're governed by an elected board of regents. There's 13 regents that are elected by geographic areas. They serve as our governing board. They in turn appoint a chancellor, which is myself, and then there's 8 presidents. In the context of public-private partnerships, I just want to give some background to put it somewhat in context. We were hard hit in Nevada by the recession. Arguably, probably the one state that was hit hardest by the recession. It had a devastating impact upon our economy and how we operated. Our current governor, who is finishing up his 8-year term, when he came in there, he made a commitment to highlight issues around economic development. But he invited higher education to the table. And we had to rethink how we respond to workforce issues and meeting the needs of not only educating our citizens, but also responding to the workforce needs in the state. And I'll give a couple of examples of that. I'm not going to steal the thunder from our presidents, who are doing some incredibly innovative partnerships with the public sector that will be on the panel tomorrow. But what drives us on our public-private partnerships is how we increase access to higher education. Not everybody needs a 4-year degree, but no longer can you be competitive with just a high school diploma. You need something beyond high school. It is the pathway to social mobility. It is the pathway to the middle class. We are committed as a system and as the state to increasing access on the issue of higher education. And that drives our partnerships and our public-private partnerships. The other driver is student success. If they come to us, they should graduate. That is our core function. We have to do more to ensure that individuals who come to our systems actually end up graduating. And the third area that drives our public-private partnerships are on the issues of meeting the workforce needs in Nevada. And I'll talk a little bit about that, of how we have partnered very closely with the governor's office in order to be as nimble as possible when new industries come in there, and be as forward-thinking as possible to help industries envision the type of employees they need in the future. What guides us is our five overarching goals that the board have adopted. And these aren't just on paper. We live, we breathe it. Our institutions embrace it. Our community embrace it. The first is around the issue of access. As I mentioned, we're doing all we can, and it's not just barriers to higher education that are financial, which are substantial. Affordability is an important issue. But there's also other barriers that we are attempting to break down to ensure that we have more access to higher education. In the States, we rank 49th in the nation in the percent of 18 to 24-year-olds are engaged in higher education. We have more individuals who go on education when they become adults. But when they become adults, they have families, they have commitments, and education becomes more challenging. We need to change the culture about higher education. Many 18-year-olds can go on and get great jobs in gaming and great jobs in our northern part of our state in mining. But when you're in your late 30s and have 5 kids and can't work in the mining industry, your options are limited if you have no additional education. We're committed to access. Our partnerships in the private sector is committed to increasing access, and I'll give you one example in a second. Our second is around student success, that we are driven by increasing graduation rates and persistent rates, and figuring out what are the barriers when individuals come to us. Because access without success does not equal opportunity. If individuals come and we open our doors, they need to graduate. We're very committed to that. We have a third goal that our board has adopted, centered around closing the achievement gap between particularly our Latino students and our African American students with our white students. It is so important our board has adopted a goal around addressing the issue. We are a majority-minority system in Nevada. Where our minority population goes, we go. Our graduation rates with many of our Latino and African American students are simply unacceptable. They should not differ from our white and Caucasian students. We have to do more. We're committed to doing more about closing that achievement gap. The fourth area is around workforce, which I'll be addressing. And workforce is meeting the needs of the workforce in Nevada. We are closely aligned, as I said, with the governor's office and with the legislative and the business community about identifying the most high-demand jobs, and how do we, as higher education, respond to those needs, both in the short term and the issue of long term. And the last goal, we're focused on the issue of research. We have our 3 research institutions with us today, and they'll be speaking on a panel tomorrow. We have a very strategic pathway to achieving top status on the issue of research that we're committed to. The presidents have strategically mapped out how they get there. But we do research for one reason: to solve problems. That is why we do research. It's not a theoretical exercise. We solve real-life problems. And we need to do a better job about talking about what community problems in our communities, in our state, nationally, internationally, that we're actually solving. And so part of our challenge is being more plain-spoken about our ability to solve problems and communicating to legislators and others of why research is so important. We solve problems that are important. I'm just going to highlight some of the so as I mentioned, during the recession, we were hard hit. The governor invited higher education to come to the table to ensure that when we rebuild our economy, or when we invited industry in, that we were key players. And that is something, for example, the governor created the Governor's Office on Economic Development. I am a member of that. When we bring in new industries to offer tax abatements and other strategies to encourage them to come to Nevada, I am at the table. And part of the discussion, the governor sits there, and when a new industry comes in there, he'll turn many times and say, Thom, what are you doing in order to meet the needs of this industry? Are you able to provide the certificates or provide the training or respond to them? We're one system. We're the whole game in town. And we can be very nimble. We can be very nimble from our community colleges who can develop certificates, tailor-made certificates around technical issues and certificates and two-year degrees. And the challenge we have with our research institutions is that how do we think forward and how do we engage in industries to start talking about the tremendous amount of job elimination and job creation that we'll see in the next decade. And so we're involved very intimately with industry around those areas. If I can, I just highlight some of the partnerships and the innovation we have developed as a system, and I'll leave the specifics to the universities. Most recently, in fact, yesterday we just had a signing ceremony for a partnership we developed with MGM Resorts International. It is a Fortune 300 company. They have over 80,000 employees nationally. They are the largest employer in the state of Nevada. Very innovative company. We have partnered with them, and to our knowledge, we are the first system of higher education where a first Fortune 300 company has actually partnered with an entire system of higher education, from community colleges to higher education. In a nutshell, what does it do? Any of their 80,000 employees can access any of our online degrees at any of our degree granting institutions for free. Quite a commitment from the largest employer that is sending the message in Nevada that education matters. You don't have to get a degree in hospitality. A housekeeper can get a degree in biology because their commitment to social mobility and the commitment to moving forward is that important. That partnership, that key partnership, is important, but it also demonstrates our commitment on to the issue of access. Tesla and Panasonic has joined us in Northern Nevada. We have developed a very close working relationship, particularly around our issues of community colleges. So when we develop certificate programs, we have individuals who go through them. They are interviewing before they get their certificates done and in job placements. It's that type of partnership that we sit down there and not only talk about the type of certificates, but how we deliver and what the content is. So it's not only are we doing the right certificates and degrees, but how is the delivery? Are we doing them online? Are we doing them on site? But those type of partnerships are very important. They've even been innovative enough to start targeting hard-to-place individuals, for example, those on welfare, those receiving food stamps, who are traditionally very hard to place, is committed to training those individuals, going through the program, and the success rate in placement is outstanding. I know Dr. Miana is going to talk more about the gaming and hospitality industry, but we have one of the top-ranked hospitality industry in the world, and that just didn't happen by accident. We're right down from the strip. We have cutting-edge research and opportunities that we allow individuals to participate in, not only in the training of their industry, but also in job placement afterwards. Dr. Johnson from UNR will talk about something very similar to your innovation center, is this crazy future thinking focused on the next generation of innovators, of space, to allow this incubation of ideas between our students, our faculty, between entrepreneurs and those in the community, powered by Switch, which is a major industry in Nevada and nationally, about ways in order to kind of create and think differently about how things are done. Again, our presidents will actually demonstrate from an international, national, and state level about how we move forward. But again, our commitment to the partnerships are not just because public-private partnerships are good. They're good because they're good for our students. They're good because they create access, they create success of our students, and we are close partners with industries. That when industry comes in here, or when industries are faltering, the question is, what do we do in higher education to respond to their needs? And thank you for the opportunity to share what we're doing in Nevada.
Thank you so much, Thom. Next is Dr. Xinmiao.
Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, Dear friends, good morning. Firstly, let me express my warmest congratulations on the 57th birthday of CETYS University. Thank you very much for giving me this great opportunity to speak at such a wonderful time. I feel so much honored to share with you my view and opinions on the internationalization of higher education in the framework of the One Belt and One Road initiative. More than 2,000 years ago, our forefathers crossed the grasslands and deserts, opening up the land-based Silk Road connecting Asia, Europe, and Africa. Through the turbulent seas and raging storms, they have also established the maritime Silk Road linking the east and west. The Asian Silk Road has stretched for thousands of miles and lasted for the thousands of years, symbolizing the opening of an area of great exchanges in the history of human civilization. It has laid the foundation of the Silk Road spirit, future peace and cooperation, openness and inclusiveness, multilateral benefit and win-win cooperation, and has thus written a new chapter in the development of mankind. In the autumn of 2013, during a visit to the Central and Southeast Asian countries, Chinese President Xi Jinping put forward a cooperative initiative to build the new Silk Road economic belt and the 21st century maritime Silk Road. The initiative has provided a new paradigm for China to interact and cooperate with the countries along the Silk Road, especially in the field of education, with openings and inclusiveness gradually become a common consensus among all sides. The One Belt and One Road initiative will undoubtedly push the higher education. China's higher education, in particular, to go further internationalization. The internationalization of higher education in the world is a process of continuous evolution. After the Second World War, the economic globalization has spread across the world, greatly accelerating the pace of internationalization of university. The internationalization of European and American university has become an irreversible trait. Meanwhile, the African Union, Australia, India, Japan, and other countries have ensured corresponding measures to promote the internationalization of their university. Looking back at the development of Chinese university for over 100 years, we can find the internationalization of the university has always been a major part of it. After entering this century, especially in the recent years, the exchanges between Chinese university and foreign university are increased, and the platforms for intergovernmental cooperation and exchanges are becoming wide and wide. In 2009, China and Asian countries reached a consensus on the double 100,000 students mobility plan as one of the initiatives to deepen the bilateral strategic partnership. In addition, the 16+1 cooperation platform, which is based on deepening China's traditional friendship with the Central and Eastern European countries, and strengthen mutually beneficial cooperation, not only promotes the comprehensive and balanced development of Central and Eastern European relations, but also greatly strengthens international cooperation in the field of humanity, especially in the field of the higher education. In June 2016, China formally acceded to the Washington Accord and became the 15th member state, thus taking a big step forward in the opening of this China's higher education. In the 1980s and 1990s, the internationalization of higher education in China was characterized by undirectional internationalization, mainly by students studying abroad, learning advanced experience from European and American countries. Since the 21st century, with the gradual increase of Chinese influence in the world, especially since the launch of the One Belt and One Road initiative in 2013. China's influence in the international community has been increased. The internationalization of higher education in our country has gradually changed from the model of Chinese students study abroad to the diverse pattern of students going abroad and receive foreign students at the same time. Then, on the background of the One Belt and One Road, how can we continue to promote the internationalization of Chinese university? In my view, considering China's current national conditions, the roadmap can be divided into 3 parts. Firstly, efforts will be made to strengthen connectivity and cooperation in the international education. Chinese university must make good use of the opportunities brought by One Belt and One Road, and make efforts to sign educational cooperation framework agreements with the university around the world, gradually breaking the bottlenecks of educational cooperation and exchange by achieve credit recognition, module of joint conference of degree, thus expanding in the field of education for a more close and common development. In the light of this situation, Hunan Normal University encourages universities that have cooperative foundation, similar research topics, and development goals to form sister relationships and gradually deepen education cooperation and exchange, so as to promote the construction of education communities. In this regard, Hunan University has been committed to maintain active exchange and cooperation with universities in other countries by establishing ties with 159 universities and institutions from 41 countries and regions. So far, we have set up 3 Confucius institutes with Kansas Friend University in Russian, Yuanguang University in South Korea, and South Utah University in the United States, respectively. Secondly, we will increase the establishment and cultivation of language measure in college and university. At present, under the background of One Belt and One Road, language services are facing three major problems: the shortage of minority language talents, the insufficient compilation of languages and other specialties, the inadequate marketization as a whole, and such circumstances. Chinese university should establish a mechanism of language interaction and coordination with the university along the One Belt and One Road countries to jointly develop an open language course and gradually incorporate the national language curriculum of the different countries into their own curriculum system. Our university is now on the list of constraints of world-class disciplines in China. We are actively exploiting the advantage of our foreign language department in training talents, vigorous expanding intergovernmental exchange program for language learning, and jointly training higher-level language talents. We also look forward to more in-depth of cooperation with CETYS University and welcome more exchange with this university. Thirdly, we will vigorously promote the study of the national and regional issues in university. Strengthening national and regional research is conducive to strengthen and the understanding of economy, politics, education, culture, and other aspects of countries along the Silk Road. It will provide a stronger intellectual support for the promotion of pupil-to-pupil communication and serve as a powerful measure to facilitate the internationalization of university. To this end, our university has always included national and regional issues in our important research programs, and has successfully established academic research institutions such as American Research Center, Northeast Asian Research Center, British Irish Literature Research Center, Chancellor School, and active ecology scholars from our university to carry out or complete in research on related topics. In addition, our government will continue to expand our preference, attract more higher-level overseas Chinese talents to return to China, increase enrollment of foreign students, and absorb talents from developed countries, especially for countries of the One Belt and One Road initiative to study in China. Ladies and gentlemen, dear friends, the One Belt and One Road initiative is in line with the fundamental interests of the international community. And well demonstrates the common ideas and the beautiful pursuits of a human society. It completes with the trade of the world's multipolarization, economic globalization, culture, diversity, and information society, and is an active exploration of international cooperation and a new mode of global governance. It will end new positive energy to the world peace and development. We have every reason to believe that further internationalization of higher education will surely become the trend of the times and the strong driving force of the One Belt and One Road initiative. To conclude my speech, I hope that presidents of the university from all over the world will extend our joint efforts to strengthen ties and cooperation among universities, expand cultural exchange, enhance personal training, and create a better tomorrow for world higher education in the context of the One Belt and the One Road. At last, I must say happy birthday to CETYS University. Thank you very much. Good luck to everybody. I have a gift for your university.
Our friends from Hunan University would like to present CETYS University and Dr. Leon with a gift. Thank you, Dr. Xinmiao. 谢谢. Now, Dr. Dan Shunk is up next. Dan?
For those of you that know me, I cannot give a talk sitting down. And I need props. So if Melissa or someone would turn on the projector, we will get a presentation going here. Okay? The challenge that we have in higher education and economic development, I find it to be requires a balance, all right? The balance is how do we get talented employees, how do we get new ideas, and how do we present that in a way such that the ideas can be exploited and the talented individuals can maintain and develop a career. We have a simple challenge being given to us by our distinguished Board of Trustees, Juan Ignacio, Regent Nelson, and others. All they ask us to do in engineering is to become the #1 engineering program in all of Latin America. That's all they ask of us. And he was the one to clap first. I hope you know that, okay? We'll get him there, all right? But it requires a recognition of what is CETYS. CETYS is totally different than the institutions in Nevada, the institution from which I have spent the last 34 years in Arizona. This institution knows the student. We touch the student. We get to directly impact the student, which is causing us some challenges, okay? And so what I'd like to do today is address 3 of those challenges and how we're directly addressing them. Number 1, what does the student need to know to flourish? Your point, okay? They don't have to go to the university and get a 4-year degree, Tom, but they need to know something. What do they need to know? Well, we, as the Engineering Advisory Council, took that upon ourselves, Javier, myself, and others, and we did a study. And we tried to learn what are the competencies that are required of the engineer tomorrow. We looked out 3 to 5 years. There are many studies that have done this. The TUI study in the United States, sponsored by NSF and others. We needed to know for Mexico, and I'll show you the results. I got the responsibility of writing that paper. And this, I've written lots of journal articles. We all have, sitting here on the front table. I know they, okay? This may be the most difficult journal article I've ever written because I wanted to make it useful. And it has to be useful, okay? The second topic then says we need to come up with ideas, and you're sitting now in the Center of Excellence for Innovation Design. Brand new building, opened up in January. Brand new. That gentleman right there was the absolute catalyst. Regent Nelson was the absolute catalyst to make that happen, and I love that guy, okay? Because he made this building happen, and we helped him, but he made that building happen. What are we trying to do here? And then the last thing is we're dipping our toe in the water of creating a system-wide program. Dr. Leon likes to call it a system-wide program, okay? How do we then capture the direct integration of what we teach and the touch and feel that we have for the student and still leverage our resources? Those are challenges that we face, okay? So I'm going to touch upon these very briefly. I'll limit it to 10 minutes and then we'll move on, okay? The Shingo Award is the highest award in the United States for manufacturing. The Shingo Award top criteria is, are you leading with humility? Humility is tough. Humility says, I have to balance, I have to come up with a balance between the voice of the customer and the voice of the expert. That's a Samsung phrase that we use here, all right? We've got a lot of experts on the faculty. You've got a lot of experts on your faculty, okay? How do we develop a balance between voice of the customer, what industry needs, others, and voice of the expert, what's coming down next, what's going to be the game changers? In order to do that, we have to listen. And the companies listed here are members of various working relationships with CETYS, okay? One of the things we did, to Dr. Leon's point this morning, we formed an engineering advisory committee in order to provide opportunities for guidance to Dr. Sosa and others in engineering. This group's been together for over 3 years, but it's an action-oriented group. Our deliverables are unique in that we, the Engineering Advisory Committee, provide deliverables to Dr. Sosa in engineering based upon what we think they ask of us to answer. One of which, I'm going to skip this chart, one of which was, what does the engineer need to know tomorrow, and what are the gaps? A legitimate study, I think you would agree. What does the engineer need to know, okay? This is what we've done. We ran a survey. We asked all of our friends here in Mexico and in the United States to tell us what are the gaps, all right? Not surprisingly, number one gap, understand how to make change happen. Does that surprise anyone? That's hard to teach. Understand how to make change happen. Okay? If you go down the list, able to make a presentation. I left Purdue in 1976. The first presentation I made in the U.S. Air Force, I went on active duty April 15th, 1976. First presentation I made in the U.S. Air Force was to a 3-star general. Somehow I made it through. Because at Purdue University in the 70s, one did not learn how to make a formal presentation. I could derive an equation. I was damn good at deriving equations. I couldn't make a formal presentation. I had to learn real quick. Our students here are very articulate, and I'm proud of that. Number 3, able to capture true requirements. This is what industry is telling the engineer of tomorrow. What are the real requirements upon which we're going to build that next generation system, et cetera, et cetera. We can go down the list. What we found then as we did this is we took that list, the one you see on the left here, and we compared it with where at CETYS do we address that, okay? This was our closure, and this is the paper that I'm writing. How do we close that? And what we found, incredibly well founded, is that we've only got about 3 areas where we've got to focus our attention. The rest of them are covered in multiple courses in multiple ways, okay? The first one, we do not specifically address, understand how to make change happen. We got to do that, okay? That's what industry is telling us they want from our students. How do you make change happen? And that, I think we would agree, is hard to teach, okay? The second one, works well alone. Now, we think our students do that, but we have a hard time measuring that. And for engineers, if we can't measure it, we don't feel comfortable with it. The last one was emotional intelligence. That's hard to measure as well, okay? We all can measure IQ. We're now evolving to try and understand how to measure EQ, okay? But the rest of the list we feel very good about, and we're reporting back to the Board of Trustees and the Engineering Advisory Council. We're doing pretty well here. Congratulations, okay? Topic number 2, how do we perform cross-functional applied research? We are not a basic research institution. We're an applied research institution, okay? And the intriguing thing about applied research is it needs to have some home. It needs to have some linkage. And as you tour this building, as you gentlemen get to tour the building, we're recognizing that we are entering a new generation, okay? We are entering what we call Generation 4, 4th generation manufacturing, cyber-physical. So what do we have? We have a mechatronics program that directly addresses the cyber-physical. We have a cybernetics program that directly addresses the cyber-physical. We're well positioned from the standpoint of curriculum. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is the fundamental change going on with all of our companies, from Gulfstream to Honeywell to Kenworth to Foxconn and others, okay? So what we did, thank you, Regent Nelson, thank you very much, is you're in a new structure. And on the factory floor, which you can see if you walk out the door and walk in the next building, we're going to have hybrid cells out there, okay? They're slow to come, but we'll fill it up, okay? And what Dr. Sosa keeps on talking about is the responsibility of this facility to address, the term he uses is the quadruple helix. I'm going to stop. How many of, I feel like I'm teaching my class in here. I'll be in here Friday night teaching class, okay? I got to stop and give a quiz. Don't you think it's appropriate about that? How many of you have heard the term quadruple helix? Mostly CETYS folks, okay? Quadruple helix says we have 4 intertwined things going on that we need to address simultaneously. The first deals with the business environment, okay? The second deals with the academic linkage to the business environment. The third deals with the community, the social, the linkage, the environmental implications. And the last deals with the government. And that quadruple helix is real. Let me give you an example. The governor of Baja sat down with Dr. Leon 3 weeks ago now and proclaimed Baja does not have a water strategy. I got a water resources lady sitting in front of me. She's one of the best in the world. Please say yes. Okay. Okay? Now, wouldn't it be great if, based upon this fundamental notion of listening, that we, CETYS, listen to one of the best in the world to help the state of Baja figure out a water strategy? We'll talk about that later on. Okay? To do that, we are thinking about looking at what we call ecosystems. And today, in the short amount of time, we talked about 3. Understanding the student and what the student needs to look like tomorrow. Understand how to apply real applied research in a logical manner. But where we are is now we're looking at next generation, okay? And this is where the balance comes in. Carlos Solorio, that gentleman right there, let's find it. Carlos Solorio I met him in the Tijuana parking lot a year or two ago. I said, Carlos, what are you doing here? He says, I'm teaching my design of experiments class. And he teaches it on the weekends, Friday night, Saturday morning in Tijuana. Okay? I said, but aren't you teaching design of experiments in Mexicali? And he says, yeah, Monday through Thursday, I teach on the Mexicali campus, and then Friday and Saturday, I teach on the Tijuana campus. And I said, why don't you record your class in Mexicali and allow them to participate? He says, because I want to get to know the students. And we have to learn, and here's the challenge. We got students out there. I've taught online for 25 years. I began with voice over PowerPoint. Some of you may remember. It was ugly. My findings showed that there's a bimodal distribution of students that take online classes. Those that have great time management and want the flexibility flourish in that environment. Those that have poor time management or have other responsibilities typically do not flourish. I'm trying to say that as nicely as I can, all right? We have to understand, and at CETYS, we cannot simply say, we're going to throw an online course at you, right? It won't work. It worked at ASU. I had 100 students this summer online. I didn't meet a one of them. At CETYS, that won't work. At CETYS, we're going to have to understand, Dr. Leon uses the term system-wide education opportunities. Am I phrasing you correctly, sir? Is that okay? Okay. So we're taking this slowly, and we're trying to learn. We've gone live and synchronous. In this classroom on Friday night, if you wish to come back, I'm teaching my operational excellence class in this classroom. Nice audience, nice room. I've got 2 students online in Ensenada, but they're synchronous, live synchronous. We are dipping our toe into online asynchronous, but we have to learn how to do that and still maintain the quality of the education coming out of CETYS. That we don't know how to do yet, okay? And that's where work needs to be done. So we have lots of opportunities. What I've covered very briefly is CETYS is on the move. We got a responsibility to Juan Ignacio to become the #1 engineering program in Latin America. He fortunately didn't say the time frame to do that, and I may be dead by the time we achieve that, which is okay with me, okay? We've got some challenges, but we're listening well. We got an engineering advisory committee that helps. It's not critiquing, it helps. It creates deliverables. We've got a center of excellence to develop this ecosystem. And now we're dipping our toe into leveraging this institution. I hope you sense the impact the CETYS can have on this Baja region and what we need to do in the future. Thank you for the time. Jorge, thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Shunk. And I would just like to say that as an academic administrator at CETYS with these responsibilities having to do with these challenges, it is a complete and total blessing to have as a part of our team and as a driver to the initiatives that we have to promote, people like Dr. Dan Shunk, Regent Nelson, and the whole Board of Trustees. It's a part of the ecosystem. So thank you very much for all your support. I've always said that anything that Dan would sell, I would buy. And you'd probably agree. Thank you very much, Dan. And now to conclude this section of presentations, Diego, you would be next. Thank you.
Thank you very much. First, I would like to say thank you so much, Dr. Leon and every people from CETYS. You are very kind. I almost feel in my home, and I have been 3 or 4 times with you, and it's really amazing to be here, to understand this institution, and to see the similarities that we have, and also the problems that we are facing are almost the same around the world. Even I am from a business school, not from an engineering schools, and I found very similar things that we have. The problems that we are facing are very similar, and we need to work together and learn from a different perspectives of what we say, what we have to change the university. What I'm going to tell you is what are we doing in CEIPA to face this challenge. I'm not going to repeat what Dr. Reilly said, Dr. Thom, Dr. Jiang, all the problems that we have in the university. I want to make a proposal, a new way to see how can we change the way that we teach business administration. Our founders say, welcome, when in the commencement ceremony to the new alumni, welcome to the world of outdated ones. When you receive your diploma, you are start your outdating ones. So that's a challenge that we have in our university. How are we going to teach? How are we going to prepare our students for the new reality, new economy, new problems that we are doing? So we make a lot of changes. I'm sorry for this slide, it's the only one that we have in Spanish, but we start changing the model. We don't have semesters, we have some periods that call core periods, 8 weeks, then the student stop 1 week, then goes to another 8 weeks, and it goes 5 times a year. So every 8 weeks we have new students enter to the university. Students come out, get out, move around, have some flexibility for them, because most of them they work also. 18 years ago we go to the asynchronous online learning, and it's very good. Right now we have more than 3,000 alumni in online students, and the test that the government of Colombia performs, and also a statistic that the government of Colombia have about the average income of the alumni, and we found that there is no difference between an online student and a face-to-face student. They perform very well in the national test and also in the income and employability of the students. All of this take us to the next challenge. What's happening in Colombia is not a secret for everybody around the world. We just signed a peace treatment. We have been not growing, almost 1 to 2% in the last 4 to 7 years. So the employment rate, even the efforts that the government had done, they didn't drop out. It's the same thing. So we need to improve. When I ask to all my students, what do you want to do when you finish your undergraduate? I ask, do you want to be the president of the biggest bank in Colombia? No. Do you want to be the president of the biggest insurance company in Colombia? No. What do you want to do? I want to have my own company. I want to be entrepreneur. So we understand that, and we also just read all the problems that we have, all the things. For example, make a good presentation, understand how the change is going. Everything is happening in the same schools, engineer, business, and everything. But we are not preparing well our students for that. We are not preparing our students for the new realities that is happening. This is the process, but in terms of time, I'm going to step that, and the methodology that we did to develop this program. This program is start this year. Start this year because after a lot of conversation with all the stakeholders, we understand that we need to change and we need to move forward and understand the way that we are going to do it. So the first thing is that we decide is to have a new outcome profile, and we move to have an integral and knowledge management leader that can the CEIPA professional is integral and knowledge management oriented to the solution of the organizational problems. Commitment to development of the society is people and able to perform in heterogeneous local and global environment. That's what we define. That's very big, very complex, and I don't have time to explain what means every word, but now you can understand that we are not focusing in giving some profile in marketing or finance, everything. We want to make them to solve problems, to help the country, to help the society to transform that. So the big picture is we want conscious leader, a strategic and entrepreneur. That's the main three things that we design to be our manager in business administration. So why we move this way? One, students wanted to be entrepreneurs. Two, the society needs to change. And third, the companies always ask, we need someone that makes change in our companies. And we start with an strategic, because we have 8 weeks periods. We start with an amazing strategic to link with the companies, to link and impact the companies. And we call it business challenge. And the business challenge is that a real company bring a problem to the classrooms. And the students start working with this real problem that is connected with the subject of the nucleo and in 8 weeks they work with the methodology of team focus and start bringing some solution to the company. We start 4 years ago. We have the first year we had 9 business challenge. This year we finished with 51 or 55 business challenge, real problems of the different companies. I asked to my teachers that I prefer very small companies, medium companies, no? Medium in Colombia, not in United States, because middle companies in United States is big companies in Colombia. So very small companies, because they can afford a consultant. They don't have time to do that. So I want them to work with the small companies, but teachers prefer big companies, so they want to be a consultant of the big companies. So we have a mix of that. Small and big companies that bring the challenge to our classrooms. So we decide only 3 competence: self-management and proactivity of acknowledgement, self-management and proactivity of doing, self-management of proactivity of being. That is the competence. I'm not going to go there because we don't have time, but we decide to focus on 2 things. Education by problem-solving course. So our strategic, our methodology is problem-solving. It's based on problems. So we change everything, the methodology. We train the teachers to conduct a class like a problem-solving, to be more than a teacher, be a consultant, work with them, and then bring the experience, cases, similarities. So a student needs to go to the theory to solve the problem, not the theory to solve the problem. It's the inverse process. They have a problem, they need to know something, and they go to find the different knowledge they need. And the teacher need to conduct them then to find the best practices and best theories they need. So each core, which is 8 weeks, remember that, because in each core, the teacher are with almost only one group, 40 students, 8 weeks with them, 5 days a week, online or face-to-face. It's very intensive program, but it's very, when you go in a problem, it's very touchful, and the results are amazing. Every core, we have 5 courses a year, but every core will have 4 objects per course, and one of them, which is like that. Every object, every core have 4 objects, 3 of them are common to all, and the 4th object is depending of the needs of the students. Depends if he goes to finance, he will be more in the marketing area, or what depends what they need. So we move in that. And the 4 core in the 5 core in the year will be optional to the students, depend the needs, depend if he is an entrepreneur and they need another core, we can assign them the most adapted course to him, to them. So in each core, we have the 4 areas: managerial, socio-humanistic, basic science, and innovation entrepreneurship. Time is going, so I'm moving fast. So we designed the curriculum in exploring, transforming, connecting, and enhancing the students. Every year goes little high, more complex. The problems are more complex every year, so the students goes around this. So the first year will be more focused on individual, in the leader, in the life project context, what he wants to do, be, or she wants to be, how she's going to project his life. The second year is more logical thinking, focus on teamwork and process. The third year is abstract thinking, leadership, team leadership, and problem solving. And this is the new curriculum that we have. The first year, the first core will be always a business idea lab. Every student start with the business idea lab. Then goes to the transforming with the business intelligence in the different areas. As you see, we are increasing the complexity every year, transforming, connecting, and in the 4th year will be the more emphasis that the students want to be, or what they want to have. If he's going to have the company, he already has an idea, he has tested everything in the market, he wants to go to run the company. Now in the 4th year, we will focus on bring the idea from the idea to project in the 2 or 3rd year, and the project to the market in the 4th year. That's what we are doing. We are changing this curriculum. We are implementing this year in CEIPA, and the prototypes that we have done at the moment are seeing excellent results. That's what I can tell you at this moment. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you very much, Diego. There are some very interesting underlying and common themes to what we've heard today, and I'd just like to comment on a few of them. One is effective linkage with industry, business, and other stakeholders. It has a direct impact on our students. The value of international collaborations as a strategy to achieve greater competitiveness, and in some cases derived from as a part of a national agenda, like what was talked about of the One Belt, One Road that's coming out of China, which is very interesting, and also how we can better prepare our students to be agents of change, and the challenges and implications that has. So thank you very much to the 4 panelists. We're going to open it up. We have some time for Q&A. So is there somebody from the audience that would like to ask a question to some of our panelists? Yes, here.
You have your advisory committees, and so it's easy to get groups together to participate in advisory committees. How do you prepare them, and how do you create the culture that they will be prepared to bring their issues to you so that you can really understand what you need to do next and work on solutions?
I can tell you how we do it, not magic. We give them homework. Okay. This coming Engineering Advisory Committee meeting, we have it twice a year. October 5th will be the next meeting. We meet from 9 until 3. We will tee up a month in advance the 3 fundamental questions we need to address. We're going to have board members presenting 5 and 10-minute vignettes on what they find. Recognize this is an action-oriented advisory committee rather than simply having Jorge and Juan Terraza and others simply presenting and then we sit back and critique. That's not working here. And so this gathering, Javier, will probably tee up at the Engineering Advisory Committee in terms of global outreach, the issues that come up, and then we will discuss it and make some recommendations and or take actions to address that. It's a little bit different design than some that I've seen in the past.
I would just add a few things. The selection of the members and how you invite them and engage them is very important. So the definition of the agenda that we're going to be addressing each meeting, for that to be communicated, and as Dan mentioned, to be a very action-oriented agenda that has elements that are of interest to the group. That is very important. I think also that always there are action items, ARs for each meeting that we are very mindful and cautious to address in the next meeting. So there's a follow-up and continuity. And the last thing, and this might seem like a joke, but it is not, we give them gifts. And in each meeting, but I'm going to mention it as following. From the beginning of the advisory council, we have a logo. We have an image for the advisory council that was developed by our students, by the way. The advisory council has to feel like a team, like a part of the institution. So we have branding. They are a team. So when I mention about the gifts, it's something that in each meeting there's a pen, there's something, a cup, there's something that you're going to have in your office that says Engineering Advisory Council of CETYS. So I think that's something that may have to do with form, but it is important.
So whenever you engage in the teaching of innovation and the teaching of how to affect change, you have to first teach students that it's okay to fail, because you don't get innovation without taking chances and failing often before you reach at an innovative solution. Has it changed the way you grade students or evaluate students so that it's not just the old learn the facts, recite them right back to you?
I can begin the, okay. As a core class at the graduate level in engineering, all engineers take fail early, fail often, okay? We teach an innovation class, innovation and design. It's a core class. It's unique from the standpoint that I don't know many other master's degrees that have, for all disciplines, a core class on innovation and design. And in that, we follow business model canvas. We follow design thinking and others, which stress the notion of fail early, fail often, okay? That's consistent with the teaching going on over in our business school. And so we have guests here from our Center of Excellence in Competitiveness and Entrepreneurship. We sometimes even team teach those classes. Alex DeNoble and I tried that a couple of years ago, okay? So and we have others that we've done that, okay? And so that notion of fail early, fail often needs to be understood, and we incorporate that into the core at the graduate level. Now, I cannot speak, Jorge, at the undergraduate level, but at the graduate level, that is a fundamental building block. Yes.
Thank you.
In our case, for example, in the core of Business Idea Lab, the idea is not that the students bring a product that is accepted. Is that he or she can validate an idea. If the idea is good, he or she can continue development. If the process fails, it's good to know, because they will be more cheap for them that after they finish the study and put a company that will not work. So it's cheaper for them. So we evaluate the process, how they conduct the process, if they are using everything to validate the idea. So it's more the process, not the result.
Questions from the audience? Miguel?
Thank you. Hi. You mentioned certificate programs in Nevada. You mentioned some of the gaps that you found with what companies expect from the students and the graduates. How do you see certificate programs helping bridge those gaps, towards the future? Do you believe that the undergraduate level or graduate level should be doing that, or do you think that we should encourage our students to understand that in order not to graduate and be one of the outdated ones, they should be moving towards continuing education and strengthening their skills and knowledges through certificate programs or different specialized certifications? How do you see that building or bridging those gaps?
I could begin to attempt to address that. At the community college level, there's been this dichotomy of two-year degrees versus workforce. And that is changing pretty rapidly, is that how do you incorporate them together and have a pathway together? But I think a couple things are important. One is that how do we engage with industry to hear what is needed? And is our curriculum reflecting that? So those opportunities and spaces where industries can communicate those ideas, for example, what was shown is here, what are in engineering, what are those skill set that individuals need? I think a lot of times in academia, we look at them and say, God, we've missed a boat. And some very basic skill set like social skills, communication, how do you work in teams, how do you work across boundaries, become real important. In addition to kind of the traditional ways of having industry come and talk to us, we're also attempting in Nevada at the system level to drill down to deans and directors and having them talk directly with industry. We're spearheading that around the issue areas of nursing and teaching in particular to get a more honest dialogue about what is needed. To your larger question, I said at the beginning too, I don't believe everybody needs a 4-year degree. And I think industries reflect that. I think in many cases you do. But I think it's starting with that discussion of what is the skill set, and many times that certificate is a step along a pathway, that you become successful in getting the certificate, and then you realize you have the ability to move on. But our community colleges are really focusing on what is that pathway that multiple certificates lead to 2-year degrees, that can lead to 4-year degrees, even if everybody doesn't progress that way.
Well, we've I'm sorry, Dan? I'm sorry. We're closing the session. We are upon the allotted time. I would like to thank our 4 panelists for the time you've given us and the insights. And I hope, like we say, this is what we've heard today gives us food for thought, or like some of us like to say, chicle mental, or mental gum, throughout the day. There will be opportunities to interact with our panelists throughout the day. Thank you very much for attending, and thank you very much to the panelists. Thank you.
¿Qué tal? Muy buenas tardes, agradeciendo a todos los miembros del panel. Les pedimos que ahorita en 10 minutos vamos a pasar a la firma del convenio entre el Sistema de Educación de Nevada y CETYS Universidad. Siguen, estiren las piernas, hay unos refrescos afuera, pasar al baño y que nos acompañen de nuevo. 10 minutos y empezamos de voladita. ¿Mande? Oh, okay. Oh, sorry about that, yes. 10-minute break. Please take a 10-minute break. There's tea and water.